hot.
Have you ever walked through a city and felt like it had a mind of its own?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was a living, breathing character,
Mm.
maybe with its own secret logic,
Yeah, absolutely.
where what seems, chaotic or illogical might actually be its greatest strength, its superpower.
I know exactly what you mean.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into Bangkok, a city that I think perfectly embodies this whole idea.
It really does.
We're going to explore it through some provocative ideas from Koolhaas.
Ah, Koolhaas, Delirious, New York.
Exactly. Back in 1978, he looked at Manhattan and basically said, hold on a second. What if all that chaos, the skyscrapers jam together, the traffic, what if that's actually its design secret?
Right. Not a failure, but the core of its identity.
Yeah, how it works. For Koolhaas, buildings weren't just structures, they were machines of desire.
Yeah.
And the city just thrived on these unexpected, almost surreal combinations.
And our deep dive today, it's inspired by Miguel Velez's article, Delirious Bangkok. It takes that Koolhaas concept, programmatic madness, this idea of things being wildly mixed up,
Yeah.
and applies it directly to the Thai capital. So our mission really is to help you understand Bangkok not as a city that needs planning correction.
Not something to be fixed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But as a site of what Velez calls vernacular surrealism.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine an urban place where strict zoning rules, they barely exist.
Okay.
Where boundaries just sort of dissolve and architectural styles and uses blend together in the most unpredictable ways. We want to uncover how Bangkok generates its own, brilliant urban intelligence, where what looks like irrationality and constant improvisation are actually the very tools it uses to build itself.
Okay, so if we're talking about programmatic madness, what does that actually feel like on the ground in Bangkok? Because, for someone like me used to thinking of cities with neat zones, business here, residential there, this sounds like, a complete sensory overload.
Oh, it absolutely is. And what's fascinating, truly fascinating here, is that in Bangkok, these contradictions, they aren't errors, they're actually brilliant strategies.
Strategies? How so?
Well, you'll see luxury condominiums standing right beside, tin roof slums.
Right next to each other.
Literally. And Buddhist temples, they aren't just on their own neat plots of land. They might be nestled beneath massive highway flyovers.
Wow.
Or even inside shopping malls.
Inside a mall. Seriously.
Seriously. And it's completely normal, everyday stuff to find a street vendor cooking up amazing satay just feet away from a gleaming Louis Vuitton window display.
That's quite the image.
It is. And these aren't planning failures, you see. They're vivid reflections of Thailand's incredible sociocultural adaptability and its spiritual worldview, its dynamic, often spontaneous, informal economies. It all comes together.
That's incredible. So how do we even begin to understand this really unique kind of urbanism? What lenses does the article use to help us sort of make sense of it all?
It takes a really broad approach, which I think is necessary here.
Mm-hmm.
First, through urban studies, it helps us see how Bangkok's lack of rigid zoning creates this constantly evolving urbanism. It's driven by negotiation, by people just finding ways to use space, appropriation, and by, informality.
Okay, so informality isn't the problem here.
Exactly. Informality is an alternative.
Interesting.
An alternative way of organizing things.
Interesting.
Then, from an architectural perspective, it looks at how buildings are shaped less by strict blueprints or functions alone, and more by opportunism, by adaptability, by hybridity blending different uses.
Makes sense.
And finally, through cultural theory, it dives into how these deeply ingrained Thai cultural values, like Sanuk, that sense of fun, joy in life, my Penray, the never mind or no worries attitude.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's key. And Sabi's sort of relaxed, easygoing living, and Kwan, the spiritual essence or life force. How all these combine to produce a city where what seems like chaos and, sheer beauty are often completely indistinguishable. It's what the article calls a culturally situated surrealism. It emerges from the culture itself. And to really capture this, the article introduces a specific term, Bangkokism.
Bangkokism, okay.
Think of it as the city's unique operating system, a situated theory of how the city produces itself, rooted in its everyday strategies for survival, for coexistence, for constant change. It's essentially a cultural condition of urban absurdity that functions. It works.
Okay, absurdity that functions. I like that.
Yeah. And Bangkokism embraces 5 key elements. First, this coexistence of opposites. We talked about temples beside nightclubs, high-end malls next to bustling slums.
Right.
Second, programmatic hybridity. Spaces blending sacred, social, commercial uses without clear boundaries or zones. Third, temporal elasticity. Architecture often feels provisional, like it's built in phases, or maybe intentionally unfinished. It's always evolving.
So it's never quite done.
Kind of, yeah. Fourth, spiritual infrastructure. The urban space is infused with spiritual values, and everyday rituals think of the spirit houses everywhere.
Ah, yes, you see those all over.
Exactly. And finally, informality as normativity. Planning adapts around how people actually live and use space, rather than trying to force people into preset boxes.
The plan follows the people, not the other way around.
Precisely. So Bangkokism sees this apparent absurdity not as a flaw, but as a profound vernacular intelligence. It's an indigenous theory of architectural coexistence.
Okay, now that we have that framework, Bangkokism, let's see how these ideas actually come to life, with some real-world examples from the city itself. This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
Definitely. And if you want to understand how Bangkok truly works, you have to look at the shop house typology.
The shop house, okay.
These are those narrow, multi-story buildings you see lining so many streets. They are perhaps the best capture of Bangkok's spatial ethos. Within just one single plot, you'll find domestic life, commerce, maybe small industry, and even spiritual practice all blending together.
All in one building?
And are all in one. You might see a family living on the top floors, maybe a repair shop or a small factory on the ground level, and a little shrine right at the entrance.
It's like, it's almost a microcosm of the whole city's layered logic, isn't it?
Exactly.
Koolhaas praised the skyscraper for stacking dissimilar programs vertically.
Right.
And the shop house does the same thing, but at this much more human street level scale. It's like a vernacular verticality.
That's a great way to put it.
Making everyday absurdity not just tolerable, but completely functional. Logical even, for daily life.
Absolutely. Then, at the other end of the scale, you have something like the M District.
The M District.
Emporium, Emportier.
Emporium, Encordier, and now M Sphere. These interconnected mega complexes. They form a kind of branded delirium, a meticulously, almost obsessively curated ecosystem. High-end consumerism, rooftop gardens, gourmet food markets, panoramic elevators, the works.
It sounds like a world unto itself.
It really is. Each mall is designed to be a complete world, a hyper-programmed tower of desire, offering a total lifestyle simulation.
You know, Encordier has these amazing helical ramps and sky gardens. Makes you feel like you're strolling through a park in the sky. While M-Sphere is all about fusing live entertainment with incredible food experiences.
And the absurdity here, the contrast, is just so stark, isn't it?
It really is.
You've got this gleaming, almost artificial world, meticulously designed to pull you in, keep you there, and then literally just across the street. Sometimes in its shadow, you see the older shop houses, the bustling, informal street food stalls.
The local context just persisting.
Yeah, it's this commercial enclave of simulated urbanity, as the article puts it,
Yeah.
where the logic of curated experience is codified in glass and slick branding and even the choreography of the escalators. It's almost jarring.
It is jarring. And then lastly, consider the Commons song lore.
The Commons. I've heard about this place.
It's a really striking example of what the article calls curated informality.
Curated informality, okay.
It's a privately developed public space, essentially, designed by Department of Architecture Co. It's an open-air vertical marketplace. Food kiosks, cafes, little shops, shared seating, all arranged on these cascading terraces. It acts as a kind of semi-public urban living room. Functions are layered, overlapping, encouraging people to hang out, interact across floors, very fluid.
But what's really fascinating about the Commons, I think, is that duality you mentioned.
Exactly.
It's aesthetic. The look and feel deliberately mimics the raw materials and the spatial fluidity of those energetic, informal food markets you find everywhere in Bangkok.
The raw concrete, the open spaces.
Right. But it's doing that within a very high-end context, right?
Yeah.
Tailored for middle-class urbanites, expats.
Precisely. It's a formalization of the vernacular. It takes the style of informality.
The packages it.
Yeah. It's a composed absurdity. The building appears to embrace urban contradiction, but actually, it's carefully controlling it.
So it looks spontaneous, but it's anything but.
Exactly. It's designed to feel that way. And what's so fascinating here, looking at all these examples, is how they clearly reveal that contradiction isn't just, present in Bangkok. It's the city's very operating system.
It's OS, yeah.
The city isn't disordered. It's incredibly improvisational. It's not irrational, but deeply relational. Things connect in unexpected ways. It thrives through juxtaposition, through layering, through the active cohabitation of seemingly incompatible programs. This isn't urban dysfunction. It's truly urban delirium as a design method.
Okay, so if that's the case, what if Bangkok's unique mix is actually its greatest strength? I mean, traditional Western planning models usually enforce clear zoning, right? They often see this kind of blend as, well, spatial contamination or just messy.
It's a problem to be solved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Bangkok seems to suggest a relational urbanism where different programs, different communities, they negotiate space in real time. It reflects cultural values, economic necessity. It's a city where use shapes form, not the other way around.
That's a very good summary of it.
But is there ever a point where it becomes too relational? Where it might lose some core functionality or livability without clearer boundaries? Does that risk exist?
That's an excellent question, and it's a critical one people grapple with. The article focuses on the generative aspects, but that tension is real. While the article highlights the strengths, the too much aspect is probably a constant negotiation on the ground. However, Bangkok's sheer resilience suggests it finds its own kind of equilibrium, maybe one that looks chaotic to outsiders. And this brings us back to the concept of informality, often seen in, Western urban planning as a problem, a deficit.
Something to eradicate or formalize away?
Right. But as Koolhaas suggested with congestion in New York, informality can be a productive condition. Think about it. Those street vendors we mentioned, they aren't just illegal intrusions, they are co-producers of the city's experience economy.
Co-producers. I like that.
They fill gaps in the formal market, they adapt instantly to demand, they reclaim these little leftover residual spaces. It's a form of syncretism, the simultaneous existence of overlapping realities. It really aligns with Abdul Simone's idea of people as infrastructure.
People is infrastructure. Explain that a bit.
Well, instead of just relying on pipes and roads, the city relies on the adaptability and the networks between people to function. Imagine the city less like a fixed blueprint and more like, a giant, constantly evolving street party or market.
Okay.
There's no strict layout, but everyone figures out how to navigate, how to set up shop, how to interact, sharing space, adapting on the fly. That's kind of how Bangkok operates this organized spontaneity, where the people themselves, their connections, their improvisations are constantly making the city function in these unexpected ways.
So what does this all mean then for how we understand cities, like in general? Because Bangkok really seems to extend Koolhaas's original provocation about New York. It challenges us to reimagine modernity itself, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It shows us that modernity itself is plural. There isn't just one path.
Yes, exactly.
Not all paths require Western notions of rigid zoning, or top-down control, or purely formal aesthetics. It seems the true design intelligence in Bangkok resides not just in the architect's blueprint, but in the ongoing improvisation of life.
That's beautifully put. Exactly. Bangkok is, as the article suggests, not post-planning, but pre-alternative.
Pre-alternative.
Yeah, it represents a different path. One where contradictions aren't necessarily resolved into neat categories, but are simply lived with, accepted, maybe even celebrated. It truly challenges us to rethink our assumptions about urban aesthetics, about urban ethics, and it demonstrates that design intelligence does not reside only in the blueprint, but also in the ongoing improvisation of life. Bangkok is a city to read, to observe, or to try and understand, not necessarily to fix according to outside rules.
So we've taken this journey through Bangkok's incredible, maybe bewildering urban landscape. And what we found really is a city that thrives precisely because of its inconsistencies, its overlaps, its truly unique cultural juxtapositions. The absurd isn't just present, it's completely normalized and crucially deeply functional.
And that's where Bangkokism comes back in, as the essential framework, the lens, for understanding the city's unique spatial logic. A logic rooted in contradiction, in hybridity, in constant coexistence, where what appears absurd is, in fact, cultural intelligence at work.
So Bangkok's spatial absurdity, then, it really becomes its strength. A kind of vernacular theory of city-making where improvisation isn't just a method of survival, but it's also a profound form of architectural authorship, the city writing itself.
Beautifully said. So maybe, as you go about your day in your own city, take a look around with this new lens perhaps. What unexpected juxtapositions do you see? What might seem illogical at first glance, but is in fact deeply functional, part of your city's own secret language? Maybe question what urban logic truly means for where you live.